Why is exposure hard in light painting photography? Have you ever wondered why getting the exposure just right in light painting photography can be so tricky? It's a fascinating blend of creativity and technical skill that can leave many photographers scratching their heads. Let's break down the factors that make exposure a challenge in this unique genre of photography. First off, light painting photography relies on long exposure times. This means the camera's shutter is open for an extended period, capturing the movement of light sources as they paint the scene. The key is to find the perfect balance. You want the exposure long enough to capture all the light strokes, but not so long that ambient light, like moonlight or city lights, washes out your image. This balancing act can be quite tricky. Next, consider the variable ambient light conditions. Night scenes can range from complete darkness to bright moonlit or urban environments. These conditions can limit how long you can expose your shot before the background becomes too bright. For instance, if you are shooting under a full moon or near city lights, you will need to shorten your exposure time. This can restrict how much light painting you can accomplish in a single shot. Another challenge is that automatic exposure modes are often unreliable for light painting. The camera's meter can get confused by the moving light sources. This is where manual mode comes into play. You will need to set the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO settings yourself. This requires practice and a bit of trial and error to avoid overexposure or underexposure, especially as the lighting changes during your shoot. Now let's talk about the light sources themselves. Different tools like flashlights, light-emitting diodes, or sparklers have varying intensities and color temperatures. Matching these to the ambient light and camera white balance is essential. If not, you could end up with unnatural color casts or uneven exposure, which can detract from your final image. Movement is another factor to consider. When you or your assistants are moving the light sources, it's crucial to do so carefully and consistently. If the movement is uneven or too fast, some areas may end up underexposed or overexposed. Predicting how the light will affect exposure takes skill and practice. To tackle these exposure challenges, some photographers use layering techniques. This involves taking multiple shorter exposures, each illuminating different parts of the scene. You can then combine these images in post-processing. While this method can be effective, it requires careful planning and precise control over each layer's exposure. In practical terms, mastering exposure in light painting photography means understanding your camera's manual settings, being patient while experimenting with different shutter speeds and apertures, and adapting to changing ambient light. Using a tripod and a remote shutter releases can help keep your images sharp during those long exposures. Additionally, shooting in RAW format gives you more flexibility in adjusting exposure and color balance later on. Overall, the difficulty of exposure in light painting photography comes from the combination of night photography challenges, manual control, and dynamic light manipulation. Each of these elements must be carefully managed to create a well-exposed and visually stunning image.